Alright, get the berets and white flags ready, boys. UFC Paris is up this weekend. Is it stacked? I wouldn't really say that, but there are some good matchups throughout and some dogs that I really like the look of. Nice being able to watch the card at a respectable hour as well, so I'll take that. Can we keep the ferocious win streak going and make some fucking money? Let's find out right now. Alright, this fight should be higher up the card, and it's a shame that this one won't get the eyeballs that it probably deserves. Clinton Rodrigues is excellent and is coming off a starching of Shannon Ross. Everyone's pretty much beaten that guy at this point. I did pick him in that one, but I didn't like the loss to CJ Vergara he had before that, who's looked pretty pedestrian since. He's also a flyweight, which gives me quite an element of the unknown here. Will his power translate to bantamweight? We don't know. Basharat, on the other hand, is a highly touted, well-rounded prospect that's undefeated, that can strike, and has a wickedly offensive takedown and ground game. And I think he's going to be too slick here for Rodrigues. I like the money line, but I can see it going the distance potentially in a dominant decision for Basharat. This is actually a risky one. Mckee is best known for getting abused by Hamzat, but I'm not going to hold losing to one of the biggest weight bullies in the sport against him. Loosa has some power early and carries that risk, but it does fade as the fight goes on. And while Mckee does have a significant reach advantage and better gas tank, this makes it an interesting matchup. For me, it goes two ways. Either Loosa smashes Mckee pretty early, or he gasses out and potentially gets worn out and outworked later on in the fight. Given that we're about the money round here, Loosa hasn't found a KO in a while and has seen the final bell multiple times in his last few. I think Mckee will play this safe at range, making the over 1.5 the most enticing parlay fluffer on offer here, which you can get at decent odds. I think Mckee's being undervalued and a clear winner isn't obvious to me. They're both of kind of a similar level. Alright, this should be taking place in a parking lot outside, not in a UFC octagon where people are paying actual real money. Cornolle is making a UFC debut and is coming off a wave of hype from the regionals. We've seen how badly that's gone in the past. Simple fact is that she's unproven. I do have salty beef with Edwards, who is coming off 3 wins in a row, but 2 of them I thought she lost. The last against Pudilova particularly egregious for me. I lost money on that one. I'm still fuming. I don't like her finishing potential. She has pillow hands, but on the other hand, is pretty durable. I think this is going to be a sloppy fight and an embarrassment to the sport, and the over 2.5 feels like the safest play available to me. I'm tired of getting burned by Edwards and losing money against her, so I'm trying to evolve. Alright, we got a second women's MMA fight in a row. They're always a tricky prospect to bet on, but it becomes basically impossible when the odds are this broad. I do think Calvacanti on the eye test is a slicker fighter, but I don't like that she's taken it on 2 weeks' notice. And while Fairn has a horrific record, including 2 first-round losses against Megan Anderson and Felicia Spencer, Christ, that's brutal. Like, they both are terrible. I think this does give us an opportunity to make money on a rare plus 1.5 line. She lost both those fights on the ground, and I think Calvacanti isn't as slick there and will strike with her, drawing the fight over the midway point and cashing for us here. I can't bet on the Portuguese fighter at minus 380. That's madness, although I do expect her to win. Alright, we've got 2 more fighters making their UFC debuts here. Both have extensive experience on the regional scene. I'm going to take the French fighter Charriere here. He has the home advantage, which always makes a decision more favourable, with the crowd overhyping every moment and downplaying what their opponent does. It matters in a fight I expect to be fairly even. Zecchini is very solid and hard to finish, but I expect Charriere to be faster and to have the more impactful takedown game. This going to a decision is a nice alternative between 2 fighters that are fairly close in skill level, but I think this matchup has been set up for Charriere to get the French crowd pumped in a matchup where he's slightly more skilled in all areas, and the odds are pretty nice for it to go that far. Alright, you might want to take this with a pinch of salt. I'm of Irish descent, and I do feel almost obliged to pick the Irish fighter Loughran here. Fortunately, he's very good. He's undefeated, coming out of a great gym. He's also shredded as fuck and does carry a decent cardio base with it. It's essentially a pure kickboxer against someone in Loughran who is more well-rounded, and we normally know how that goes. So bias aside, I do have to favour the more diverse striker that has a more extensive toolkit. Ghemmouri is a solid striker, but he's susceptible for falling for feints, which will make him hesitant to kick as the fight goes on. And I think this is going to open up the straight strikes of Loughran, leaving him open to takedowns and applying a nasty ground game. Loughran to win on the money line, I like. Alright, I think Gomis is terribly overrated, and I've been burned by this fluky motherfucker before, and I don't feel like learning in this case. He's coming off a split decision against Francis Marshall that I thought he actually lost. Either way, it was close, and Marshall just got destroyed by Bulgarian, who to be fair is excellent. Almeida is a dog in this one, and in terms of paying a low wager to potentially make a decent bank, I like him here. His loss to Sabatini hasn't really lowered my stock on him, to be honest, as Gomis doesn't carry the same ground threat, and I can see this descending into a firefight where Almeida will have the bigger cojones, catching Gomis at the right time to edge out the rounds. Gomis is going to get found out as not that good, and the plus odds on Almeida I think are worth the risk. I must admit I'd never heard of Guskov, who's taken the fight on short notice. See, I called him Gustav. It's Guskov. After Murtakanov basically ran away. The only fight I could find on Guskov was getting dropped in his last fight against some guy whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce. Oezdimir does have a bad record lately after going 3-6, after going on a tear and actually getting to a title fight. But in his defense, he's been fighting some of the best lightweights in the world and Anthony Smith. Oezdimir has the power to crack chins, but has also shown he has the durability to make the distance. So I like Oezdimir on the money line here to get this done. A KO might be a nice play if you feel like spicing it up and taking a bit of risk. Alright, I like Saint-Denis a lot. He's a warrior, but I do have some reservations here. He got absolutely brutalized by Aleski dos Santos in a fight that I know he survived, but it should have been stopped. He also beat Ismael Bonfim in a massive upset, but I'm actually blaming Bonfim for that by getting too cocky and letting Saint-Denis rip body shots. I honestly think Bonfim wins that fight 99 times out of 100 if he doesn't fuck about. This is a very close fight for me, and I think if you really want to make money on this, I think the over 2.5 is the one to play. They're both dog tough and hard to finish. It took Makhachev until the 4th to get Moises out of there. He will have the home crowd on his side in a close fight, and that's relevant. Saint-Denis will. But Moises is his most experienced competition, and I can see this being close on the cards, making the distance play safer. I don't trust judging when the skill level is this close, and both fighters are tough. Yeah, this one's going to surprise some people, and to be honest, I'm kind of surprised, because I was going to pick Fiorot when I heard about this matchup originally, but I put some thought into it, and I'm taking Fug Rose. Strawweight is the more skilled women's division, probably the most in the UFC, and Rose is one of the best strawweights of all time. People have forgotten how good she is after she laid an egg against Carla Esparza, who she way over-respected, and arguably lost to Weili in that rematch, but we've seen how good she looks now. But she genuinely is elite everywhere, and I think she's going to be too fast for Fiorot, who I think is actually a little bit overrated. Rose has taken some time off, won't have to cut, and I think she's going to land more and surprise Fiorot with diversity and speed to win at least 2 rounds out of 3. She's a heavy underdog, and I don't think we've seen enough from Fiorot to justify that against one of the best pound-for-pound female fighters of all time. Going the distance is also a nice option too if you don't trust it, but at these odds, I'm taking the risk on Rose to do that little bit more. Alright, this is a nice main event with massive implications for the heavyweight division. I like Spivak a lot. He's very dominant when he gets the fight to the ground, and Gane has seen his stock plummet with how easily he got taken down and starched on the ground in his last fight. Spivak is no Jones though, and while I think he will cause Gane problems early in the fight when they are both dry, I think Gane will stay patient and get it back to the feet where he has a significant striking advantage. I think Gane's going to take the humiliation positively and will have spent significant time off to work on his takedown defense. And if he can keep it at his range, Spivak will be nervous to close the distance and may get clipped coming in. I think Gane overcomes a potential moment of adversity after losing the first round and finds the chin of Spivak in the second or third, who has been hurt before. Gane's going to bounce back and get an eliminator, probably against Aspinall. It should be Pavlovich, but the man just won't speak up for himself. Alright, quick roundup then. I like Basharat moneyline. I think he's going to be too big and too skilled for Rodrigues. Loosa Mckee, I can see going over 1.5. I think Mckee's being very highly undervalued here. Cornolle and Edwards, again, expect this to be scrappy, sloppy, go over the 1.5, sorry, over the 2.5. Fairn versus Calvacanti, again, I think Calvacant's going to try and strike with her, and Fairn will be able to survive for the over 1.5. Charriere is too skilled for Zecchini. Not great odds, but could be a nice parlay fluffer. Ghemmouri versus Loughran. I think Loughran's going to be too powerful, too explosive, and it's going to take him out at some point in the fight. I think Almeida's also being way undervalued. Gomis should be a favorite against somebody with that much experience. Oezdimir I like on the money line. KO could be a nice sweetener. Saint-Denis and Moises, I think they're both going to dog tough it out, and I can see it going over 2.5. If you are going to pick a winner, I'd probably edge Saint-Denis, who has more of a killer instinct. I'm taking Namajunas on the money line. I think she's going to be too slick, too skilled, and Fiorot's taking a massive step up here, and I like Gane on the money line. Again, a finish might be a nice way to fluff that up, but the odds are good on the money line. All right, so my record overall this year is 236 to 111. So I've retained my 68 win percentage. Looking forward to this on Saturday. It's going to be a decent card. Should be fast-paced. And yeah, I'm looking forward to breaking it down, hopefully at a more respectable hour. Have a great rest of the week and take care.